The Drawings and Sketches assignment is a note-taking assignment. We ask you to look at one of the figures in the textbook and to replicate it on the worksheet. Often the figures in the textbook have really good information that may even be required to know on the upcoming test. And if you are simply reading through the textbook and you see the figure, you may just glance at it and move on. However, if you have to stop and you have to sketch out what you see in the figure and then take notes on it, then you're going to process the information from the figure in a totally different way than you would if you just read the textbook, glanced at the figure, and went on. So this is an important note-taking skill. And we encourage you to do your best when you are asked to make a drawing or a sketch of one of the figures in the book. Now, looking at the worksheet, you'll notice that at the top it says Exploring Creation with Biology, Drawings and Sketches, and it's just a simple worksheet. The first thing that we're going to want you to do is to put the date in and also your name. Keep in mind that you're not the only one taking the class, that there are several students who are taking the class, and so if we don't have your name on your paper, then we don't know who to assign the grade to. In addition, adding the date is information that we require to show that you got your work in on time and that you completed it in a timely manner. For this tutorial, we're going to be showing you how you would fill in the worksheet for figure 1.6. And so in our textbook, we find figure 1.6. It's on page 19. And these are the figures that we want you to take notes on, to sketch out your own version of, and then pay a little more attention to in terms of knowing the figure, being able to identify it when something like this shows up on the upcoming test. Notice that the figures are labeled. One is a sketch of a prokaryotic cell, and the other is the sketch of a eukaryotic cell. And then the various parts of the cell are noted. And so we want you to take these labels that you see on the sketch and transfer them to your worksheet. And so back on your worksheet, you're going to simply sketch out as best you can the two figures. Notice that the artwork isn't perfect, but it is neatly done. On the prokaryotic cell, you can see the DNA strands, you can see the ribosomes drawn in. And in the eukaryotic cell, you can see the various organelles are drawn in. Note also that the student has labeled each part of the figure so that they know which cell is a prokaryotic cell, which cell is a eukaryotic cell, and what the different parts of each cell represent. Note also that the student did it in color. Color helps to separate the different parts of the cell so that it makes more sense when you see it. As often as possible, we encourage you to go ahead and color in your sketches before you submit them. Once you have your sketch finished and labeled, there's a section of notes below where we ask you to fill in the blanks. That information comes generally from either information that is written with the figure or information that is in the paragraph above or below on the same page. And so what you're going to do is you're just going to go ahead and fill in the blanks with information that you read in the textbook. So a prokaryotic cell contains no membrane-bounded organelles. The main features of a prokaryotic cell are the DNA visible throughout the cell and the ribosomes, which have no membrane. And so you go ahead and continue filling that out. Now, sometimes we want to have you take notes, but we want to combine information from several different figures in the textbook. And this next example shows you where we want to have a simplified sketch of some common protista. That's the overall umbrella of what we are wanting to take notes on. But the different protista come from three different figures in the book: figure 3.2, figure 3.4, and figure 3.8. And so note on page 71 we have figure 3.2. On page 74 there is figure 3.4. And on page 78 there is figure 3.8. So those are the three figures that you're going to transfer to your note-taking worksheet. So once again, we're going to fill in the date and your name. And then we're going to go ahead and sketch each of those figures. And notice once again that the student has used lots of good color and that they have labeled each of the sketches. Once again, we need to fill in the blanks. Don't forget to do that. And remember that the information comes from either information that is written on the figures or information that is in the paragraph above or below the figures. And so once again, we're going to fill in the blanks. Kingdom Protista is divided into two main groups: the protozoa, which are mostly individual single-celled creatures with a form of locomotion, and algae, mostly colonies of eukaryotic cells that have no form of locomotion. And so from there, we'll go ahead and fill in the rest of the blanks. So hopefully this tutorial will help you know what to do when you get home with your drawings and sketches worksheets. If you ever have any questions, please just ask your teacher, who would be happy to answer any questions that you have.